Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Depending on who you ask, Joe Biden is widely considered either the worst or maybe the second worst president in American history. And last night, he pulled a move that should secure his place right behind Jimmy Carter. The headline came across as Joe Biden pardons Hunter. That doesn't even touch what we witnessed last night. Over the summer, Hunter Biden was convicted on federal gun and tax charges, a conviction that was suppressed for years after the Department of Justice and the IRS worked vigorously to protect Joe Biden's son. The deep state didn't care about Hunter Biden, of course. They needed to protect his father, his business partner. Joe Biden was the best chance at winning back power from Donald Trump in 2020. That's the truth. And in truth, the sentencing Hunter Biden was about to face this month was going to be a slap on the wrist, no matter how harsh it was. Hunter's laptop indicated sex trafficking, federal FARA violations, and of course, his most profitable scheme, selling access to Joe Biden's power to adversarial countries around the world for tens of millions of dollars, a crime that is treasonous in nature and was oh so obvious to anybody that wanted to actually look at the evidence, even though most people didn't. But the spoiled Hunter Biden couldn't even accept what was going to be a very meager slap on the wrist. He demanded a pardon, and Joe Biden was forced to comply. Of course, because after all, Hunter knows where all the bodies are buried, and Hunter could take down his father if he didn't get his pardon. And are you going to trust a crackhead? I think not. So Joe Biden broke a promise that he has made so many times.
But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
After all of that, and there's many more times than that, Joe Biden last night signed an absolutely ridiculous pardon for his son, a full and unconditional pardon for offenses against the United States, which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1, 2014 through yesterday. A nearly 11-year span. Imagine that conversation between Joe and Hunter Biden that necessitated this kind of pardon. Dad, I need an unconditional pardon for 11 years of my life. How many crimes did this kid commit to require one of the most sweeping pardons in American history? All the way back to 2014, when Hunter Biden started taking money from Kazakhstan, Russia, and landing a cush gig with a corrupt Ukrainian energy company making $1 million a year, even though he didn't know a thing about energy. Could they make it more obvious? An 11-year unconditional pardon. And when he made all that money, presumably he was paying his father a sizable chunk of it, which Hunter complained about in text messages that were found on his laptop from hell. It's wild. And then there's Biden's excuse for this sweeping pardon, which was as ridiculous as the pardon itself. And before we read it to you, we just want to remind you of how many times Trump has been excoriated by Democrats and the media for undermining our sacred and solemn government institutions, which the machine mouthpieces swear can never do any wrong.
Trump is trying to weaken our institutions, the press, the courts, the Congress.
It's undermining of our government institutions, something that Donald Trump has a very long habit of.
Has gone out of his way to decimate the common standards and the attributes of our country and the institutions of our country.
There can be no question that he will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
The institutions. Well, last night, Joe Biden basically told the American people that the Department of Justice is corrupt. And pardoning his son was the only answer, saying no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion that Hunter was singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong. I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. The arrogance to make a claim like that. Politico calling the pardon Joe Biden's parting insult. Politico saying that, saying The president delivered a vote of no confidence in a justice system preparing for siege, as Pam Bondi and Kash Patel descend on Washington to fix a justice system that is in Joe Biden's pocket in all reality. Former Attorney General and Obama's wingman, Eric Holder, actually agreed with Joe Biden, one of the few people who actually did, saying no U.S. attorney would have charged this case given the underlying facts. Eric Holder continues to be one of the most corrupted people in Washington, of course, stealing millions of dollars from the IRS, not paying that much in taxes, and lying to buy a pistol while addicted to crack. Everyone gets charged with those crimes. But again, it's so much bigger than that when you think about it. This was really all about Joe Biden at the end of the day. Remember U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf? We talked about her quite a bit on this show, on a mission to make sure the Hunter tax case never got anywhere near Joe Biden, this DOJ that's after his family. Remember IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley revealing this?
United States Attorney Leslie Wolf cited the optics of executing a search warrant at President Biden's residence as a deciding factor for not allowing it, even though she agreed that probable cause existed. Prosecutors instructed investigators not to ask about the big guy or dad when conducting interviews.
That's the IRS and the DOJ that's just out to get the Bidens. The DOJ's assistant U.S. attorney mandating probable cause means nothing. Joe Biden must be protected, mandating nobody ask about dad. She knew the Bidens were corrupt. The entire Department of Justice knows this. Most of Washington knew this. She knew it. She had to keep it concealed because they needed to get Trump out of power. And after a lifetime of crime and so many guardian angels at the DOJ, the sweetheart plea deal finally came for Hunter Biden last year. No jail time. Millions of dollars he stole from the government. No jail time. So corrupt, it was actually rejected by the judge, to the judge's credit. And even then, Hunter still ended up getting off easy. No FARA violations, none of that sex trafficking. Boy, was that laptop filthy. Nothing about influence peddling and the millions, the tens of millions that they made selling access to Joe Biden to China. You know what the punishment for treason is? And Joe Biden has the audacity to say that the justice system is rigged against him. It is the gaslight of the century. We are witnessing right now the final weeks of one of the most corrupt and awful families in American history.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.